A powerful storm line is now pushing east across the United States, and conditions are beginning to change quickly for millions of people tonight. Radar shows a long and intensifying line of thunderstorms stretching across several states. As this system advances, new cities are entering the danger zone, hour by hour. What began earlier as scattered storms is now evolving into a more organized and potentially dangerous line capable of producing damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes. The key concern tonight is how quickly this storm line is strengthening as it moves eastward. Meteorologists are closely monitoring a developing line of thunderstorms that is beginning to organize along a strong cold front moving across the central United States. A cold front is the boundary where cooler, denser air pushes into a region that has been dominated by warm, humid air. Tonight, that boundary is becoming very active because the air ahead of it is unusually warm and full of moisture. When this warm air is forced upward by the advancing cooler air, it rises quickly into the atmosphere. As it rises, it cools and condenses into clouds, allowing thunderstorms to grow taller and stronger. This rising motion is one of the main drivers of storm development. The faster the warm air rises, the more energy thunderstorms are able to draw from the surrounding environment. As that energy builds, the clouds grow into towering thunderstorm cells that can reach many miles high into the atmosphere. These storms often begin as isolated cells, but when conditions are favorable along a long boundary like a cold front, they begin linking together. Once that happens, the individual storms merge into a much larger and more organized structure. As the thunderstorms connect along the front, they begin forming what meteorologists call a squall line. This is essentially a long band of storms stretching across a large distance, sometimes hundreds of miles long. Instead of a single storm moving through one location, a squall line acts like a moving wall of thunderstorms that sweeps across regions in sequence. Areas ahead of the line may experience calm weather initially, but conditions can change rapidly once the storms arrive. The reason this type of storm structure receives so much attention is because it is capable of maintaining strength for long periods of time. When storms organize into a line, they can reinforce each other through shared airflow and energy within the atmosphere. This allows the system to remain active as it travels eastward, sometimes affecting several states over the course of many hours. As the line continues to organize, stronger winds within the storms begin to push outward toward the surface. These winds can spread across large areas, producing damaging gusts and sudden changes in weather conditions. Heavy rain, lightning, and strong winds can arrive quickly as the line passes through each location. Because this system is forming along a strong boundary and within a very unstable atmosphere, meteorologists are paying close attention to how it evolves. If the storm line continues strengthening as expected, it could produce widespread impacts across a broad region as it advances. Communities located ahead of the front may experience rapidly changing weather conditions once the organized storms move into their area. As the storm system continues moving eastward, more communities are gradually entering the area where severe weather could develop. Meteorologists often refer to this area as the risk corridor, which is the region ahead of the advancing storms where atmospheric conditions are favorable for strong thunderstorm activity. As the storm line progresses, this corridor shifts east as well, placing new cities and towns in the potential path of severe weather during the evening and overnight hours. Several states across the central United States are currently positioned within this developing zone. Areas across Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana are all likely to experience increasing storm activity as the system moves forward. These regions sit directly along the projected path of the storm line, which means residents in these locations should remain aware of changing weather conditions as the evening unfolds. Major population centers within this corridor include cities such as Memphis, St. Louis, Nashville, Louisville, and Indianapolis. Each of these cities lies along the general direction the storms are expected to travel. As the storm line advances, thunderstorms could begin forming or strengthening near these areas, bringing periods of heavy rain, lightning, strong winds, and potentially severe weather depending on how the storms evolve. Because these cities contain large populations and busy transportation networks, even moderate storm activity can lead to disruptions. Strong thunderstorms can affect evening travel, reduce visibility on highways, and create sudden weather changes that drivers may not be expecting. Airports in these regions may also experience temporary delays if storms move directly over flight paths. One important factor with this system is its forward speed. Storm lines moving along strong cold fronts can travel quickly, sometimes covering large distances in only a few hours. This means areas that are currently experiencing calm conditions may see storms arrive sooner than expected once the system approaches. The transition from quiet weather to active thunderstorms can happen relatively quickly. As the storm line approaches each city, residents may begin noticing increasing cloud cover, stronger winds, and distant lightning as the leading edge of the storms gets closer. These early signs often indicate that the more intense part of the system is not far behind. While not every location within the corridor will experience severe weather, the environment ahead of the storm line is supportive enough that stronger storms could develop in multiple locations along its path. For this reason, communities within these states should remain aware of weather updates and stay informed about any watches or warnings that may be issued as the system continues moving east. One of the most serious concerns with a storm system organized into a long line of thunderstorms is the potential for powerful straight-line winds. Unlike tornadoes, which rotate and affect a relatively narrow path, straight-line winds spread outward in one direction and can impact very large areas at the same time. When a storm line strengthens, these winds can become the dominant hazard and often cause the majority of damage associated with severe thunderstorm events. Inside a strong thunderstorm, powerful updrafts carry warm air high into the atmosphere where it cools and condenses. Eventually, that air begins to sink back toward the ground as rain and cooled air descend together. This downward rush of air is known as a downdraft. When the downdraft reaches the ground, it spreads outward rapidly in all directions. The sudden outward surge of air can create intense wind gusts at the surface, especially when multiple storms are connected along a single line. When storms organize into a squall line, these downdrafts from many individual storm cells can combine into a much larger wind surge moving along the leading edge of the storm system. This forms a powerful band of wind that can travel for long distances as the storms continue moving forward. In situations like this, damaging winds can affect multiple states over several hours rather than just a single location. Wind gusts associated with strong storm lines can easily reach speeds of 60 to 70 miles per hour, and in some cases even higher. Winds of that strength are capable of snapping tree limbs, toppling shallow-rooted trees, and bringing down power lines. Loose outdoor objects such as patio furniture, trash containers, or construction materials can be blown around and become dangerous debris. Infrastructure can also be affected by these wind events. Power outages sometimes occur when falling tree branches damage electrical lines or when strong gusts knock poles out of alignment. In heavily wooded areas, tree damage can be widespread if winds remain strong for an extended period of time. Another challenge with straight-line winds is how quickly they arrive. Often, the strongest gusts occur right along the leading edge of the storm line, sometimes referred to as the gust front. This means conditions can change rapidly as the storm approaches. Calm weather can quickly give way to strong winds, heavy rain, and lightning as the system moves through an area. In some situations, large storm lines can maintain damaging winds across hundreds of miles, especially when the atmospheric environment continues supplying energy to the system. As the storm line moves eastward, the zone of strongest winds travels with it, bringing the potential for impacts to communities further along the path. For residents ahead of the advancing storms, awareness is important. Even if tornadoes do not develop, strong straight-line winds alone can cause significant disruptions and damage as the storm system continues progressing across the region. While damaging winds are expected to be the primary concern with this storm system, there are additional hazards that can develop within stronger thunderstorms embedded in the line. One of these threats is large hail. Hail forms when powerful updrafts inside a thunderstorm carry raindrops high into the colder parts of the atmosphere, where temperatures are well below freezing. In these upper levels, the droplets freeze into small ice pellets. If the storm's updraft remains strong, those frozen pellets can be lifted upward again and again inside the cloud. Each time the ice particles are carried upward, they collect additional layers of supercooled water that freeze around them. Over time, this process allows the hailstones to grow larger and heavier. Eventually, they become too heavy for the storm's updraft to hold, and gravity pulls them back toward the ground. When they fall, they can reach the surface at high speeds. In stronger storms, hailstones can become large enough to dent vehicles, crack windshields, or damage roofs and siding. Another concern with storm systems like this is the possibility of brief tornado formation within certain segments of the storm line. While tornadoes are more commonly associated with isolated supercell storms, they can also develop along organized lines of thunderstorms when parts of the line begin to rotate. These rotating areas sometimes form small circulations that can tighten quickly and extend downward toward the ground. Tornadoes that form within storm lines are often referred to as short-lived or quick spin-up tornadoes. They typically develop rapidly and may not remain on the ground for very long. However, even short-lived tornadoes can cause damage if they pass through neighborhoods, businesses, or transportation routes. Because they can develop quickly, warning times may sometimes be limited. These rotating segments often appear within small breaks or curves in the storm line, where winds begin to change direction. Meteorologists closely monitor radar data during severe weather events to identify these areas of potential rotation. When signs of rotation appear within storms, warnings may be issued to alert nearby communities. Although not every thunderstorm in the line will produce hail or tornadoes, the environment surrounding this system is capable of supporting these hazards. That means some locations along the storm path could experience more than one type of severe weather at the same time. Strong winds, hail, heavy rain, and possible brief tornadoes can all occur within the same storm system as it moves across the region. Storm activity is expected to increase as the evening progresses, with thunderstorms gradually expanding and moving eastward through the night. Earlier in the day, some areas may only experience scattered clouds or brief showers, but conditions across the region are becoming more supportive of organized storm development. As temperatures begin to cool after sunset and the atmosphere continues interacting with the advancing cold front, thunderstorms will likely begin strengthening and forming into a more organized line. Communities located farther west will be the first to see these storms develop and move through during the early evening hours. Residents in these areas may notice the first signs of approaching storms through increasing cloud cover, distant lightning flashes, or growing wind gusts ahead of the storm line. As the storms continue organizing, they will gradually push eastward, bringing periods of heavy rain, thunder, and gusty winds as they pass. Cities and towns located farther east will likely experience storm activity later tonight as the system continues progressing across the region. The movement of the storm line means that the timing of impacts will vary from one location to another. Some communities may see storms earlier in the evening, while others may not experience them until later at night or even closer to midnight. Because the storm system is moving steadily eastward, the area experiencing the most active weather will shift along with it. Locations currently outside the storm zone may still see calm conditions for a time, but as the system advances, those areas may eventually enter the corridor of stronger storms. This gradual movement is typical for large storm lines that develop along strong weather boundaries. Another important factor is the speed at which the storm line is traveling. When storms move quickly, the weather in a particular location can change rapidly once the system arrives. Clear or quiet conditions can transition to heavy rain, lightning, and strong winds within a short period of time as the leading edge of the storms moves through. Throughout the evening and overnight hours, new communities along the eastern side of the region will continue entering the potential impact area. This means the risk zone will not remain fixed in one place, but will instead move east along with the advancing storms. Residents in areas ahead of the system should remain aware of weather updates as the night progresses, since the timing of storms will depend on how quickly the line continues to move across the region. What makes this weather situation more concerning than an average thunderstorm event is the combination of several powerful atmospheric ingredients working together at the same time. One of the most important of these ingredients is atmospheric instability. Instability occurs when warm, moist air near the ground sits beneath cooler air higher in the atmosphere. When this happens, the warmer air naturally wants to rise. As it rises, it cools and forms clouds, and when enough moisture and energy are present, those clouds grow into thunderstorms. Tonight, the atmosphere across much of the region contains a large amount of this unstable air. Warm temperatures near the surface combined with high moisture levels provide the fuel. Thunderstorms need to develop and intensify. When storms have access to this kind of energy, they can grow taller, stronger, and more organized. Another key factor, adding to the concern, is the presence of strong winds higher up in the atmosphere. These upper-level winds help guide storms and also influence how they develop. When winds at different levels of the atmosphere move at different speeds or directions, it creates a situation that allows thunderstorms to organize more efficiently. This process helps storms maintain structure instead of quickly collapsing after they form. When instability near the ground combines with these stronger winds above, thunderstorms are able to sustain themselves for longer periods of time. Instead of forming briefly and then weakening, storms can continue growing and connecting with other storms along the same weather boundary. As they organize together, they often form long storm lines that are capable of traveling large distances. This is why meteorologists are paying close attention to the current setup. When storms organize into a strong line within this type of environment, they can continue producing severe weather as they move from one state to another. Communities that are hundreds of miles apart may experience similar storm conditions as the system travels across the region. Another concern is the scale of the area involved. Rather than a single isolated thunderstorm affecting one town or county, an organized storm system can impact a much broader region. Severe weather may develop in multiple locations along the storm line, meaning several states could experience strong storms over the course of the evening and overnight hours. Because of this combination of instability, moisture, and strong atmospheric winds, the storms forming tonight have the potential to remain active as they move across a large portion of the country. This type of setup increases the likelihood that severe weather could affect a wide area instead of remaining limited to a few isolated locations. When severe weather warnings are issued for your area, it is important to take them seriously and respond quickly. Warnings are only issued when dangerous weather is either already occurring or expected to develop very soon. Because storms can move rapidly and conditions can change within minutes, acting immediately when a warning is announced can greatly reduce the risk of injury or damage. The first step is to move indoors to a sturdy building if you are outside. Being inside a well-constructed structure provides far more protection from strong winds, flying debris, and lightning. Once inside, it is safest to stay away from windows, glass doors, or large open rooms where debris or broken glass could become dangerous if strong winds develop. Interior rooms, hallways, or areas closer to the center of the building usually offer better protection during severe weather. If you are at home when storms are approaching, it is helpful to remain aware of changing conditions outside. Thunderstorms often provide early warning signs, such as increasing wind, distant thunder, or darkening skies. However, Storms can also intensify quickly, especially during the nighttime hours when people may be less aware of approaching weather. For that reason, having reliable ways to receive warnings is extremely important. Many people depend on smartphone alerts that notify them automatically when severe weather warnings are issued in their area. These alerts can provide valuable time to move to a safe location before the most dangerous part of the storm arrives. In addition to smartphones, weather radios are another dependable tool because they are designed to broadcast emergency alerts directly from official weather agencies. Local television, radio broadcasts, and trusted weather services can also provide updates about storm movement, warning areas, and safety recommendations. Keeping at least two different sources of information ensures that you will still receive warnings even if one system fails or loses power. Nighttime storms require extra attention because people are often asleep when weather conditions begin to change. Ensuring that alert notifications are turned on before going to bed can make a significant difference during overnight severe weather situations. Staying informed and responding quickly to warnings allows individuals and families to make safer decisions as storms approach. Being prepared ahead of time and knowing where to go during severe weather can help protect you and those around you when conditions become dangerous. The storm system continues to move steadily toward the east, and meteorologists are closely monitoring its development as it progresses across the region. Radar imagery and atmospheric observations indicate that the line of thunderstorms remains active and organized, which means it still has the potential to produce periods of strong weather as it advances. The overall environment ahead of the system continues to support thunderstorm growth, with warm air, moisture, and strong winds in the atmosphere, providing the energy storms need to maintain their strength. Even though the storm line is active, it is important to understand that not every town or city in its path will necessarily experience severe conditions. Some locations may only receive brief rainfall, gusty winds, or ordinary thunderstorms that pass through quickly. However, the broader atmospheric setup still allows for certain storms within the line to become stronger than others. These stronger storms could produce damaging wind gusts, lightning, heavy rainfall, or other hazardous weather as they move through different communities. Storm systems like this often contain a mix of weaker and stronger storm cells embedded within the same line. As the storms continue traveling east, some areas may see conditions intensify quickly if a stronger storm segment develops nearby. This is why meteorologists continue analyzing radar data and atmospheric trends to identify where the most active weather may occur as the system progresses. Communities located ahead of the storm line should remain aware that conditions can change fairly quickly once the storms approach. Early signs such as increasing cloud cover, distant thunder, or sudden wind shifts may indicate that the leading edge of the storms is getting closer. Once the storm line reaches a location, heavy rain, lightning, and gusty winds can arrive within a short period of time. Because this system is still moving through a favorable environment, it has the ability to remain active for several more hours while it travels eastward. Residents in areas that have not yet experienced storms should continue monitoring weather updates and remain aware of local forecasts. Staying informed allows people to recognize when weather conditions begin to change and helps ensure they are prepared if stronger storms develop nearby. Overall, while the exact intensity may vary from place to place, the storm line remains an active weather system capable of producing strong thunderstorms as it continues its eastward movement. Remaining alert to changing conditions and following trusted weather updates can help communities stay prepared as the system moves through the region. The storm line will continue shifting east through the night, bringing changing conditions to new areas along its path. What may look quiet now can change quickly once the leading edge of the system arrives. The most important thing tonight is awareness. Stay informed, keep alerts active, and pay attention to any warnings issued for your location. Weather systems like this evolve hour by hour, and we will continue monitoring radar trends and atmospheric changes as new information comes in. For continued updates and storm tracking, stay connected. This is Storm Signal USA, keeping you ahead of the weather.